What's going on, everybody? This is Jabril Salam.
And Muhammad Hassan.
And you are listening to the Young and Muslim Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody.
Assalamu
alaikum, and we on point.
Oh, yeah. We're back, baby. We're back and better than ever.
We really didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, we did.
A week hiatus.
Yeah, we got some sleep this week. That's what it was. We got sleep.
Most important.
Yeah, so look, this episode today, guys, is another episode for Black History Month. But in this episode, in comparison to the last one, it's going to be short, sweet, informative.
Yep.
And it's definitely going to be leading you guys into the next episode.
That we can't tell you too much about.
Exactly.
Yes.
But with this episode, we are going to be highlighting some of the Muslim Americans who you do not know, particularly Black Muslim Americans who contribute a lot to our history here.
Yep.
And to our way of life. And it's not going to be the stereotypical Malcolm X,
Yep.
Muhammad Ali,
Elijah Muhammad, the Nation of Islam.
Yeah,
right?
because we know a lot of that history.
Yes.
And we're gonna know about that history for a while, but we want to learn about the people, the specific people who came here and had a lot to do with this nation.
Mm-hmm.
And they have very interesting stories.
Yep. So starting off, I want to talk about this one brother. He wrote a book that really did help open my mind and my eyes to people that are outside the Nation of Islam. So brother Samori Rashid, excuse me, he wrote a book called Black Muslims in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about history, politics, and the struggle of a community, right? And he was saying that African American Muslims are among the oldest of the American community, right? Which makes sense. And then he said something that I saw in the book that was very interesting. He said nearly all sources for the early history of Islam in America was either written by white Americans, Protestants who know little about Islam and West Africa, or by Muslim converts who went to Christianity who were writing from a European American audience or perspective.
Dang,
Right.
Dang, that's deep.
Yeah, it's deep because he's like, dude, all the history that you guys know about, Islam in America was written from a third person's point of view. It wasn't written from actual,
from the person themselves.
From the person themselves,
Yeah.
So when you think it like that, it's like, who's really telling the story here? Goes back to our last, 2 episodes ago, when it was just a whitewash. It wasn't even whitewash, it was white written. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's a big difference. And he was saying that, facts, 30% of the slaves that were brought from West Africa, from the Gold Coast, were originally Muslim when they came here. But they were fed. It's almost like what's going on in China right now. It's crazy. They were fed pork and forced into another religion, right? Forced to learn about Christianity and stuff like that. So stuff like that is not happening now. It's been happening, but you won't know that if you don't know your history, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. What I think is interesting about you saying that is that there's this person I want to highlight. His name is Omar Ibn Said.
Oh.
Omar Ibn Said was born in what is now present Senegal in the Futu Toro tribe. But the region of the Senegal River in West Africa. Okay. He was born to a very, very wealthy family. He was an Islamic scholar, and he was highly studied in Islam, subjects such as arithmetic and theory. But in 1807, he was captured during the military conflict, and he was enslaved, where he was part of the transatlantic slave trade. He escaped from his master in Charleston, South Carolina, where he eventually went to Fayetteville, North Carolina, but he was then recaptured and sold to this guy named James Owens. It was said that he lived into his mid-90s.
Wow.
But he died still a slave. What's interesting about this guy is that a lot of people say that he converted to Christianity, and they have this date, December 3rd, 1820. And many modern scholars believe he continued to continue practicing Islam based on his dedications to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, written in his Bible, and a card dated 1857 on which he wrote Surah Al-Nasr.
Yeah.
Nasr, right? Which is a short surah where it refers to the conversion of non-Muslims to Islam in multitudes. The back of his card contains another person's handwriting in English, misidentifying the surah as the Lord's Prayer.
Ooh.
So, first, two things.
Yep.
One, he was known to keep practicing Islam, even after they said he converted to Christianity. But then two, he was a very learned, well-written person, and he didn't lose that. So you can only imagine he was teaching other people how to read and write Arabic.
On the low, on the sneak.
Low, all right. So
Before you go, are you gonna go into somebody else?
No, same
Okay,
guy. So
okay.
additionally, others have written on his behalf, identify him as Christian, but his own autobiography and other writings offer a more ambiguous position, basically saying, no, that's not how it is. So in his autobiography, he still praises he still gives praises to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while describing his life in his own country. His prefaces to Jesus the Messiah, in fact, parallel to Quran descriptions of Jesus, who is called the Messiah a total of 11 times in the Quran. A lot of people don't know that. We do say that Jesus is the Messiah. And descriptions of Jesus as our Lord employ the typical Islamic honorific of prophets, is not to be confused with Lord in description of Jesus as bringing grace and truth. All right. And so that's how we appropriate Jesus in Islam. So given Omar's circumstances of enslavement among Christians and the possibilities of lobbying for his freedom, he only converted because he was in a situation where his life was on the line.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So I pointed it out because this man wrote in his Quran, he put in there evidence that he was still Muslim even through all of this plight. But he came here at such an early point in our history, I
mean, just imagine how many Muslims followed in his footsteps or were able to. That almost reminds me of this one guy that I was reading about. His name is Yaro Mahmoud. It's probably a Mahmoud in overseas or just anywhere, because I remember we were talking to a brother. He said a lot of people, their names were a Mahmoud, a Muhammad, right? Going off the original name with the T's at the end, right? Going off the original names of Muhammad and Mahmoud. So this guy was actually born in 1736 to all the way to 1823. He was a former slave entrepreneur and property owner in Georgetown, D.C.
Here?
Yeah,
Dang,
owned property,
crazy.
right? You talk about somebody that's local. He was a jack of all trades, and he knew both English and Arabic. Was only one of the few that could both read and write. So after being a slave for 44 years, he finally gained freedom at the age of 60.
Wow.
Like, talk about just perseverance and patience and everything like that. And, he did work in the plantation for a little bit, but after they found out that he could read and write and stuff like that, they made him in charge of, like, the cattle and other things like that, like, more, like, prominent positions. He was even, like, a cab driver, I think. But I think the best thing about him was that because they knew that he can write in both English and Arabic, they thought he came from a wealthy Muslim family. So they treated him that way.
They treat you different.
They treat you different, right? Because they know you got that bag.
Like, yo, this man can write all my letters.
Right? And he got portraits. There's not many slaves that actually have portraits. Look, they have two great portraits of him right here. 1819. This is not like a regular, like, a portrait of him,
that's how he
being
looked.
dressed up and clean, not like him getting beat or anything like that. So that's how you know what type of prominent figure this was.
So these particular people that we're going over, they're important not just because they're black and because they're Muslim, because they're more important because it dispels a narrative that, blacks and Muslims, one, are different. Like, they're both black and they're Muslim, but it also dispels the myth that, like, all people that came over were slaves. So what we have to understand as black people and people who are learning black history during this particular month is that these people didn't come over as slaves. They weren't slaves where they were from and then they were slaves here. Like, these people were scholars. They were princes. They were people who were high political leaders. They were scholars. These people actually were lives. And so it's dangerous for us we have to watch our terminology. Because when we use words such as, the slaves that came over here. No. These were people who were captured and enslaved.
Big difference.
Very big difference. It's funny, just the positioning of words can make a big difference. And so that the whole point of this, the whole point of Black History Month is to show black people of all different nationalities and tribes that our history means something and that our history is beautiful and that we are more than what the European historians have accounted us to be. And so the next person that I want to go over is somebody who, for me, this was a huge find. We all know Mansa Musa, who was said to be the richest man to have ever lived, right? He was the emperor of the Mali Empire. But there was a Mansa Musa II, who they said was his cousin or his brother. But he also went by the name of Abu Bakr, who who was one of the emperors of the Mali Empire in West Africa. In 1311, Abu Bakr abdicated his throne to Mansa Musa, who the one we know of, to pursue his belief that the Atlantic Ocean, similar to the River Niger, had another bank, meaning he knew there was more out there, right? Already giving his rule to Abu Bakr, already during his rule, Abu Bakr had founded a 200-boat expedition to find said bank. When only one ship returned, with the captain reporting that a current swept the rest of the fleet away, prompting him to turn back. Abu Bakr put together a 2,000-boat expedition he himself helmed, and this is when he ended up giving away his command, right? Like his throne. It was believed that Abu Bakr, who never returned home, landed in what is now Recife in Brazil, and that some of the previous boats landed throughout the Americas, including what is now Mexico and even Colorado. This is now Weiner and others believe. This is why Weiner and other professors and scholars believe before and after him, no early remnants of African culture in the Americas, some of which Columbus found upon his arrival. So it's important for us to know that this history that they told us that Columbus sailed the blue in 1492. I don't know how I remember that. See, that's how brainwashed I am, right? That he's the one that found
the Pinta and the Santa Maria.
Yeah, the Mayflower, I think, right? Maybe this one. He found these people here. He saved them. He saved the savages. When in actuality, there were Africans who were sailing over here, and they were in the Americas. I remember when we went to the America's Islamic Heritage Museum, our guide was saying that there were parts in the West, in the northwestern region to like California, where there were remnants of like Muslims there. Like it was certain things like burial sites that were over there, and the Native Americans didn't have like graveyards. Like there were burial sites with the crescent.
And the difference. There's a difference between a regular burial and a Muslim burial.
Exactly. So those things are over there cited, and even just like drawings and things like that show like boats coming in. Like the Native Americans didn't have that sort of stuff on that coast at that time. So it's important for us to look at this, think of this, and say these are who we're remnants of.
Yep. And there's facts.
Who do you have next?
I have brother Mahamu Bakwakwa. He was a former slave also in West Africa, but he did something that is actually brilliant. So he was shipped to Brazil in the late 1800s. And when he knew that slavery, or he found that slavery was abolished in Brazil at that time. So he's like, hey guys, this is not right. You know what I mean? You gotta let me go. And then they ended up letting him go because he's an advocate. He fought, and then he ended up fleeing to New York City. And then he wrote a biography about it. And then now that biography is published in many languages, including Portuguese, that people currently read in Brazil now.
Wow.
That's crazy. And a lot of people don't give, I don't want to say give credit, but like when it comes to the Caribbeans and Southern American countries, they think that black people were never there. Yeah. Or there's black people in Brazil right now that don't consider themselves black. But I mean, it's the perfect story right now where they show West Africans, black people being shipped to Brazil in masses. You feel me?
Yeah. I was on the team back home, Hondurans, right? So this is like Central Americans, and these guys are all black. Like they're darker than me. Like these dudes, like right. And when we won the championship, woody woo, woo woo woo. When we won the championship, right? They brought out it was like you couldn't distinguish their cultural celebrations from African cultural celebrations. You could not. Right. And it's funny to me how they've held on to that for hundreds of years, because their history is completely different than the history here in America. But it all stems from the same place, and it's important for us to be able to look and see. Like that was very, very important for me to see. It was important for my parents and everybody to see. Like they know, but you don't know until you actually see that. You know what I mean?
Or experience it.
Exactly. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. So that was something that was really big for me. But I have somebody, Abdurrahman Ibrahim Ibn Sori. He was very learned in the Islamic sciences and could speak 4 different African languages in addition to Arabic and English.
Wow. Yeah.
That's because Abdurrahman was an emir. He was an emir or a leader within his nation of Timbo, or what we now know as Guinea. Right?
Okay, yeah.
He was head of a 2,000-man army that was placed upon him by his father, who was the commanding officer. And that army's mission was to protect the coast and strengthen an economic interests within the region. It was during that military campaign that Abdurrahman was captured and enslaved. Again, he wasn't a slave. This was a very big political character, right? He was sold to the British, who brought him to Mississippi, where he labored in the cotton plantations under Thomas Foster for more than 38 years before gaining his freedom.
Man.
Right? What the trend we're seeing is that these people who are very learned gained their freedom and were able to excel.
They kept fighting.
Yeah, exactly, right? So by using his knowledge of growing cotton in Futan Jalian, Abdurrahman rose to a position of authority in the plantation, became a de facto foreman. This granted him the opportunity to grow his vegetable garden and to sell it in the local market. So he was making profit. He was making money
in a new land.
Wow. So in 1826, Abdurrahman wrote a letter to his relatives in Africa. A local newspaperman, Andrew Marshak, who was Dutch, sent the letter to United States Senator Thomas Reed from Mississippi, who was in town at the time, and Reed forwarded it to the U.S. consulate in Morocco. Since Abdurrahman wrote in Arabic, the U.S. government assumed that he was a Moor, which we actually were talking about earlier. And we have many more questions. We need to ask somebody about that. After the Sultan of Morocco read the letter, he asked President Adams and the Secretary of State Henry Clay to release Abdurrahman. In 1829, Thomas Foster agreed to the release of Abdurrahman without payment. He didn't even give no payment, with the stipulation that he return to Africa and not live as a free man in America. Like, bro. So my man's used his knowledge, used his political connects, and said, let my mans go.
Let my people go. But it's great. I mean, it's not a coincidence that they went over there and took the most prominent individuals, taking like politicians, emirs, right? Businessmen. It's not a coincidence they went and took those individuals and took over. Like, that's how you crumble a nation, right? You take the men. And after you take the men, what's left over? The women and children. And then you can invade women and children very easily. But knowing in Islam, the Prophet Muhammad said that when it comes to the battlefield, one thing that we do not do is that we don't attack another force that isn't able to attack us, right? So that right there is one of those instances where it's like they were after they took all the men, they enslaved them and took the best of the best, the strongest, the brightest, the smartest, whatever was left over, either died out or I don't know if they went in and took the rest. If they killed the women and children, I really don't know.
Yeah,
you probably know a little bit more than me, Jibber, about the history. But a lot of people also just didn't even make it off the boat.
Oh yeah, like, they said there were tens of millions of slaves that actually didn't even make it over into the Americas.
Imagine if we're talking about 30% of those people are Muslims. Just imagine, even outside the Muslims, that's a lot of people.
Just imagine. Think about it. If 10 million were brought over, they were saying that equal to that amount actually died on the way over.
Wow.
Because just imagine, like, you're literally in quarters where you're literally sitting on top of somebody, pee, feces all over you, because you have nowhere to. They're not letting you go to use the bathroom. You're caught on this boat where you're not being fed edible food. You're at sea for 3, 4, 5, 6 months
at a time.
Everybody's probably getting seasick because they've never been out in the ocean before, and then on top of that, people are dying, and then you're beside somebody that's dead for days.
And for you to have the iman to get off that boat and still practice your religion, I mean, that's just incredible,
son. Wow.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, bro. Wow. Who else we got, man? Goodness gracious, my mind is just blown.
Right. I mean, a lot of people that we have right now are also some present day pioneers that are also crushing it. We can do like a quick Yeah. Do you have somebody else?
No, I have nobody else right now. The reason why I'm more attracted to the people in the past is because it really tells the story of who we currently are.
Yep.
You know, and so like I look at the people. We're trying not to be very cliche with the people that we pick, because like a lot of people are paying attention to the news, and you see Elhan, you see Rashida, you know, you see these people, Abdul, you see these people who are out in politics, but there's a lot of people that we've never heard of, right? That made it possible for these people. You know what I'm saying?
People that came before them.
And we don't talk about the people who are scholars that end up being enslaved and end up getting their freedom. We just think like once they were slaves, they were here. You know?
Yep.
We don't talk about the explorers. We don't talk about the people who, we don't talk about the people who did things that were outside of the norm. You know what I mean? So that's why I highlight the people that I highlighted is they're just different in that sense, you know. But I'm interested to see who you got.
Oh yeah, I mean, going back to what you're talking about in regards to Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib and brother Abdul. So there was also some politicians before them that were also a Muslim, but they weren't women though. So Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib were the first, or Tlaib were the first. So we have a brother Aku Abdul Samad. He is the member of the Iowa House of Representatives back from 2007 till present.
Oh, nice.
Then we also have Charles Belal, former mayor of Quincy, Texas in 1990. Then Andre Carson, U.S. Representative for Indiana's 7th Congressional District from 2008 to present.
Nice.
Then we also have Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, elect and outgoing U.S. Representative for Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, 2007 to present. He was the first Muslim congressman.
Wow.
So think about that. Ilhan Omar also came from...
Is this dude black?
Yeah, he is. Oh, these are all black Muslims.
Oh, these are... So what's funny, I was just on the phone with an imam, and he was saying how it's funny how, you know, the three that we mentioned, Rashida, Ilhan, Abdul, all of them, funny enough, from like the same region. Even I can't remember her name. It slips. The congresswoman in New York from Brooklyn.
From Alexander, she's not Muslim.
Her name starts with an L, but I can't think of her name. Don't know. You know, she I think she's one of the heads of the Muslim. I mean the Women's March. Linda. Her name is Linda. Linda.
Linda Sarsour.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So, you know, we look at these people and say, oh, like they're the faces of Muslims in America. But in reality, like this has been going on. Yeah. So then the question of, okay, why have we not recognized any of these black Muslims who have been in Congress, who have been in politics, who have been on TV? You know what I'm saying? Because the reason why is because there's colorism within Islam that nobody talks about. You know, like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, like, yeah, she wears the khimar or hijab. Like, yeah, she covers up. But what about the Muslims that are out here and they're doing things and nobody says anything? You know,
this was since 2007. It's my first time just hearing about that guy. Yeah,
this is before Obama.
And he set the platform so Ilhan can actually do her thing. Yeah. He's in Minnesota. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're exactly what you're talking about. You're exactly right, bro. Those people beforehand set the platform for people like us.
Yeah.
Then we also got brother Jamila Nasheed, member of the Missouri Senate from 2013 to present. Then we have Larry Shaw, former member of the North Carolina Senate, 1995 to 2009. Wow.
This man was in there, like, what, 14 years?
No, he not even that. He was in there since the 90s.
That's what I'm saying. From 95 to, he was in there 14 years. Dang, yeah. See, my math skills ain't that bad.
Hey.
Well, then you have, like your stereotypical athletes, the people that you know and you love, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lakers, woo woo. Then you have Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, basketball player, Sharif Abdur Rahim, basketball player, Muhammad Ali, of course, Nazir Muhammad. And then Mike Tyson. A lot of people don't know that Mike Tyson was Muslim. Actually, I know pretty well his Islamic spiritual guide, Imam. Oh my God, how am I forgetting his first name? Imam Muhammad Sadiq. Muhammad Sadiq. Look, there's so many names and they all are like so similar now. It's like they blend. But Imam Muhammad Sadiq is Mike Tyson's spiritual leader, and I actually got the opportunity to hang out with him and go to his house in Indianapolis and hang out with him. So it was really cool to get, and even him, like he's somebody that's noteworthy to point out because when the Nation of Islam was, prominent and they were, like at the height, he was the person who was going around establishing schools for the urban youth and putting them in schools, making sure like they had because they had colleges and everything. He was going around and he was the one that was in control of all that stuff. So it's very interesting to see that, like, yo, this is an educator. These are people who are out here. They're teachers that are, school professionals and administrators, and they're doing their thing out here,
Bro, you know what else is crazy? Because you're talking about all these people that we know about. I just learned about this sister today. Her name is Bilkis Abdul Qadir. She was the first high school basketball player in Massachusetts to score 3,000 points while wearing a hijab.
Oh, she's in high school now, right?
I don't think she's in high school. No, she's plays the University of Memphis. She's 28.
28. Okay. Oh, she our age.
Yeah.
Dang, 3,000 points.
Yeah.
In high school
while wearing a hijab,
bro. Yo, shorty was breaking ankles.
Exactly. And then I think most of us will know about Ittihaj Muhammad, the first Muslim woman to compete and win for the U.S. and international competition wearing a hijab.
That's what's up.
She even has her own toys.
Yeah, she does have her own toys. That's wild. That's wild.
Right. Do you want me to go in the next portion right here?
Hey, look, we have to get ready to wrap it up because we got moves to make. But and I'm pretty sure you listeners have moves to make. And while we're in between and we're trying to get the rest of our people out, make sure you guys go and subscribe to us on YouTube and find us on Twitter and Instagram, Young and Muslim. And then in addition to that, like, who are some people that you guys have found this Black History Month,
hit us up.
Muslim, non-Muslim, who have been like, they've opened up your mind to what Black history really is, what about the culture. It could be musicians, it could be artists, it could be, politicians, it could be warriors, it could be generals, anybody, right? What have you learned this Black History Month that has really opened your eyes? And hit us up on our Instagram, DM us, or hit us up on Twitter. Again, that's Young and Muslim. And if you're into emailing old people, stuff like that, hit us up at youngmuslimusa at gmail.com.
youngmuslimusa@gmail.com. You got it. So there's a category that I want to hop into real quick that a lot of people, like a lot of us, don't go into. We always talk about scholars, but we always forget about our teachers, the professors, right? These are all present-day African-American professors. So the first one I want to highlight is Amina McLeod. Professor Amina McLeod is a professor of religious studies and director of Islamic World Studies program at DePaul University. Her areas of expertise include Islam in America, Muslim women, Islamic studies, and the history, geography, politics, religion, and philosophy of Islam. Shout out.
Woody woo.
Next is Intisar Rab. Is a professor of law at Harvard Law School and a director of the Islamic Legal Studies program. So you're talking about like the legal system, like she's in there. You know what I mean? She shows how it's getting done. She also holds appointments as professor of history at Harvard University and as Susan S. and Kenneth L. Wallace professor at the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Studies.
Wow.
That's a biography. Like that right there is a statement she's put in there, You're talking about like, everybody's like, our history does not, we don't talk about Islam enough in history. Well, she's in there, she's a professor at one of the highest institutes in this country. Shout out.
Wow. These are our shout outs, by the way.
This is going to be like
our shout outs.
Shout out round robin. Next is Sherman Jackson. Jackson is the King Faisal Chair of Islamic Thought and Culture and Professor of Religion and American Studies and Ethnicity at the University of Southern California.
That's
USC.
a mouthful.
Right. Jackson was formerly the Arthur F. Thurno Professor of Near Eastern Studies, visiting Professor of Law, and Professor of Afro-American Studies at the University of Michigan.
I actually got to see him speak a couple weeks back about...
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, that's the one that I went and saw him speak.
That's so crazy.
Bro, brilliant, bro. When he speaks, everybody's just like their attention immediately goes to him. And he actually helped establish classes for... I wish I had the flyer in front of me. But they do classes throughout the summer, and it's basically like a speed course on Muslim history. I was telling you about it after I went to the talk. When I get more information on, if you guys are interested to learn more about Professor Sherman Jackson, I would definitely Google him, research him. But yeah, I'll just look it up. But you can keep going, and then when I find it out, I'll let you know.
So next is Fatima Jackson. Fatima Linda Collier Jackson is an American biologist and anthropologist. She received her bachelor's and master's and PhD from Cornell University. Talk about balling. She was a professor of biological anthropology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She now teaches at Howard University in Washington, D.C.
Nice. Oh, so it's called Dr. Sherman Jackson he's part of Aleem, and that is a Muslim program that we were looking at, where they have summer programs and have winter programs, basically where they help you get up your iman and they help you become more well-studied within our religion. So check them out. It's Aleem, ALIM program.org.
Nice. So next we have up some African-American musicians. A lot of them are jazz individuals. The first one is Yusuf Lateef. Was from 1920 to 2013. Mm-hmm. Was a Grammy Award-winning composer, performer, recording artist, author, visual artist, educator, and philosopher who was a major force on the international musical scene for more than 6 decades. So there's Muslims been in the music scene for a while. Like a Native Dean weren't the first people, like Dean Squad really didn't set it off. There was people in here really doing it for way before them.
I feel like this podcast just craps on Dean Squad.
Not even, because a lot of people think like that they were like the first, at least like I know they're in Canada, but to kind of really blow up like Islam in the US.
I mean, come on now. Let's not be foolish here. Let's not be foolish.
Then we have, I just learned about this guy right here. His name is Kenneth Clark. Changed his name to Likat Ali Salam from 1914 to 1985. Nicknamed Kluk. Was an American jazz drummer and band leader. He was the innovator of the beatbox. Like you beatbox? But he did that with drumming, style of drumming. He was kind of like one of the first to do that. Yeah, to kind of.
What's his name again?
Kluk. Klook. Is it Kluk? Kluk.
Hey, it was good, Kluk.
Kluk, that's smooth. Kluk in the house. Then after that, we have our modern day individuals such as Q-Tip, Mos Def, Lupe Fiasco, and Janet Jackson, which I just found out was Muslim. She converted back in 2012. Akon and Busta Rhymes.
What I want to say about some of these people is that what's interesting is that we know them as Muslims, but when we look at their body of work, you look at some of the stuff, you say like, are they really Muslim? Like, because of what they've done. And just because somebody is Muslim doesn't mean that they are 100% like. I'm not gonna say 100% practicing, but like they're doing everything as a perfect quote unquote Muslim should, right? It takes time, and everybody's at a different part of their journey. So even when you look at somebody like Lupe Fiasco, like you can look at what he's done throughout his career, and you're like, yo, like this dude really has done a lot, in terms of Muslims and hip hop. Same thing with Mos Def. Especially Akon. Mm-hmm. Akon has basically left the music scene for real. Yeah. And this guy is, look, if you don't know what Akon's doing, look him up. Yeah. Look him up.
He's doing too much for us to even hit on.
Yeah. What I do know is that he's deep in the energy sector right now. Yeah, and he's doing a lot in Africa, Western Africa, because that's where he's from. So yeah, it's cool to see that you have these modern people who are actually doing really dope things around the world, and they're starting to exemplify what it really is to be Muslim, right? And then we have our actors. Ice Cube, who I did not know was Muslim. Right. He came up on the list. We need to fact check some of these. Right. Mahershala Ali. I knew he was Muslim. Yeah. I was reading up on him a while ago. He comes from a specific sect of Muslims. I cannot say exactly. Because I don't want to say it wrong, but yeah. So Mahershala Ali, he's been in a lot. Like he's blowing up right now. The last 6 years or so, like he's really come to, right. And then you have Salim Akil and Mara Brock Akil, the creators of Girlfriends. My girlfriends, my girlfriends. Classic. Do anything. Yo, look, there is not a black man on this rock that we call North America. On this hemisphere, right? That has not watched Girlfriends. Yeah, like every black man has watched Girlfriends, bro. That show was the bomb. Yep. UPN, bro.
Yeah. You wasn't missing that.
Yeah, oh my God. Every night I was faithful. And look, it was an old sitcom where they, like, when before it would go commercial, go like the music that would end it. You're like, oh no, what's happening next, bro? Oh man, I used to love those shows, the Parkers and Steve Harvey.
The Parkers, that's all. I love the Parkers. We used to watch it all the
Bro, yeah, those are my shows, man. Oh man, all right, stay to it. We get sidetracked so
Being
easily.
Mary Jane, another one.
Being Mary Jane, that show is somewhat recent.
Yes.
But Mara Brock, Akil, and her husband Salim are Muslims, and she said she believed that there was a divine order all the time. And in her creative process, she said that she felt there was a presence of God all the way through it, and it was like it was meant to be. All I can say to you, Mara, is that thank you, because you gave us some very, very good entertainment, and we enjoy it.
Yes. Thank you.
And in her entertainment, it was very much empowering Black women too.
Oh damn, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
all the actors were Black.
Well, not only were they Black, but the characters they played weren't just like some.
They were all high figure profiles.
Yeah, exactly. They're all
lawyers,
high.
Doctors. I remember that. Come on, man.
Yeah, bro. UPN.
That's when it really was like, yo. That's when like women like, yo, I want to be her. I want to be a lawyer.
Yeah. So that's really dope, man. That's really dope. But yeah, I think that's everybody, right?
That's everybody.
All right, guys. So I told you, quick. We hope that you guys like this quick.
We won line.
History lesson that we gave you. Again, the point of this episode, if you aren't able to retain all these people we went over, one, listen again, but then two, do your research, do your due diligence on these people that you are interested in. So if you're an artist, just start looking up other Muslim artists.
That's
if you're
why
an
you try to break it up with industries.
Yeah. If you're an actor, look up Muslim actors. You're an entrepreneur, look up other entrepreneurs. Whatever it is that you're interested in, there's always been somebody, and there will always be somebody who is also interested in those things.
My man. Think it's time to bring it home, bro.
Oh, wow. Here we go. That was very quick. All right. So for the last, how long have we been on?
About 37 minutes.
For the last 37 minutes, you have been listening to the Young and Muslim podcast.
We will have to leave you with the greetings of peace.
Whoa,
but we can't forget. We got to let us know who's on the mic.
Oh. Jabril Salam.
Hassan.
Hold on, can we do that over?
We have to.
Yeah, we butchered that. My fault. We've been doing it bad lately.
No, it's been me. I've been kind of messing with you. I need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
I'll let you
suck. All right, so for the last 30-something minutes, you have been listening to the Young and Muslim podcast. My name is Jabril Salam.
And Muhammad Hassan.
And you have been listening to the Young and Muslim podcast.
We hit you with the greetings of peace.
Assalam.
Wa alaikum. We got to go.